Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, or just welcome if you're new. My name is Eboni Harris and I'm a licensed relationship therapist and serial entrepreneur based in Houston, Texas. We're back for another movie review, and today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite movies, Brown Sugar. I'm just going to jump right in because I'm trying to make these shorter if I can, so we're just going to jump right in. So Brown Sugar is a 2002 romantic comedy starring Sanaa Lathan and Taye Diggs, and they play Sydney Shaw and Andre Ellis, or Dre and Syd, who have been best friends since they were kids, and they bonded over hip-hop music. So the movie starts with Sanaa Lathan's character Syd asking all of these rappers and MCs, when did you fall in love with hip-hop? They all share these moments that they've had. This is the basis of the movie, the love of hip-hop that Sanaa Lathan has and how that has bonded her to her best friend, Dre. So then we meet young Syd, who's going to a basketball court where people are listening to music and hanging out. There ends up being a rap battle, or people just in a circle rapping. She stands on a bench next to a little boy who's around her same age, and that is Dre. While they're watching these rappers, they get engrossed in the music and beat and the lyrics, and that's when they both fell in love with hip-hop. So adult Sydney is writing her first book, and the movie is a narration of her talking about her love for hip-hop within the book. Sydney is the editor-in-chief of XXL magazine, and Dre is an AR executive at Millennium Records. They both have found their way into the hip-hop world. The first interaction we see of them as adults is Dre calling Sydney to ask about a review written about one of their artists at Millennium Records, and she knows he has her on speakerphone, so she kind of embarrasses him in front of the execs and people in the meeting, just to let him know that yes, the review went well, it's going to be a positive review that's coming out, and you know, he's excited. They make it clear that Sydney does not live in New York anymore, but she is planning to move back. He's saying, are you coming for the Russell party? And she's saying, yeah, and I think this is her move back to living in New York. So Sydney goes to this party with her cousin, Francine, who is played by Queen Latifah, one of my favorite characters. I like the two side characters. They're my favorite. Syd and Dre are cool. They go to this party, Russell Simmons' party with Kamora Lee. It's weird seeing that now, but whatever. Russell Simmons' party. And her and Francine are talking about how difficult it is to date, and she's saying, you know, basically the men out here are trash, which it was 2002. People have the same complaints 23 years later. They're complaining about the men. There are clearly some men checking them out, and they're discussing how industry men are just not what it is. They're discussing the lack of quality of these men. Dre walks in with his girlfriend, and Francine makes a comment like, oh, quality men like him, and points to Dre. It's clear that Sydney has feelings for Dre. It's not acknowledged directly, but in Francine bringing up like a quality man like your best friend, and the way that they zoom in and everything, is clear that Sydney has feelings for Dre. So Dre is walking in with his girlfriend, played by Nicole Ari Parker. Her name is Reese. They see them walking in, but at one point, Sydney goes to the bar, and Dre comes to the bar and orders her favorite drink for her, and they see each other, they hug each other, they're really excited to see each other. Obviously they call each other Syd and Dre, but she always calls him baby, like, oh baby. It's clear throughout that conversation where they're updating each other on their lives that Syd has some feelings for Dre. Dre is planning to propose to his fiance. He's showing her the ring, and she's kind of like, are you sure? Like, y'all haven't even been dating that long? Like, what's going on? And he's like, yep, she's the one. Dre seems a little antsy to me. Like, it feels like there's a sense of urgency. It is very clear that Sydney has some feelings for Dre and about the fact that he's about to get engaged. So, I want to stop there and talk a little bit about platonic friendships. It's interesting that Sydney has feelings for Dre, which can be expected to some extent when it comes to platonic friendships. I do think it's a dangerous road to play, to just feel like you can push those feelings to the side and pretend like they're not there and not ever address them. But I do think, especially over a long friendship, there could be a time when one person or both people have feelings, but then maybe you come to your senses and it's like, okay, no, this isn't the person for me. This isn't, like, that's not what this is. It's just because we're around each other all the time. We're attracted to the opposite sex, and this is an opposite sex friend. So I don't believe just because you have feelings means that you can't be friends. But I do think it's something you need to be aware of, especially if it's long standing. It makes it seem, the way that her cousin kind of brings it up, it makes it seem like this is a very well-known thing that Sydney has feelings for Dre. And I think that is the problem, because as much as you want to be there for your friend and show up for your friend, if you have feelings for them, it can come across as if you are a hater. It's hard to give 100% support and all of that. As far as I can tell, and as far as they talk about it in the movie, other than one moment, which we'll talk about later, they really have not crossed any lines. There has been very clear platonic friendship vibes. Nobody has pushed up on each other. It seems that she has always been respectful of him, his life, who he dates, and vice versa. So even though the movie portrays it as if she has feelings for him, it doesn't seem like she acts on it. It also seems like she questions him a little bit, but then she's like, all right, I support you. I support you. So after they have this conversation, Dre then ends up going and proposes to Reese. He is now engaged. On the next scene, Syd and Francine are at Syd's apartment. They're unpacking. Well, not new, because I think Francine said she had been moved in for like 3 months, but she still was living out of boxes. But they are at her apartment unpacking, and Francine ends up asking her, hey, have you ever tried with Dre? Have y'all ever tried to like see if this could work? Have you ever looked at Dre like that, right? So again, it felt like there was already like a, I think you like him, and then some of the cinematic choices made it seem like Syd liked Dre. And Syd asked the question, have you ever thought about him like that? So Syd admits that like when they were in college in Columbia, Dre asked, should we try to be together? And she said no. She was like, I don't want to lose my friendship. My friendship is way too important for us to try to have a relationship, and if it doesn't work, how will we go back to just being friends? So she said no. They just never tried it, even though that did come up at that time. Syd is invited to Reese's bridal shower. She is not really interested in going to Reese's bridal shower, but she's going to support, of course, her friend. It's her friend's fiance, soon to be wife. So let me make sure I support my friend and go show up. Francine actually buys the gift for her because she didn't know what to buy her. And when she goes, you can tell she's really uncomfortable. It seems like Syd is more of a tomboy, isn't used to being around girly things. She kept talking about these cucumber sandwiches and that type of stuff. The stuff that the girls were talking about and the women were talking about, it seemed like she wasn't really that interested in it. But at one point they play a game, which is like questions about the groom. A very standard bridal shower game. Let me ask her all the questions about the groom, and whoever knows the groom best wins a prize. And it is shocking to me how surprised these women are that his best friend, since he was 10 years old, knows him the best. I've said this before. I have some male friends. Now, 4 out of those 5 questions I probably can answer. Middle name, favorite drink, favorite song I might struggle with. I could probably get pretty close though. I could probably get in the top 5, top 10. You spend time with people, you get to know that I've been friends with these people since I was 14. It was interesting because everybody's just like, oh, she knows him so well. And even Reese, who you've only known for 3 months or however long at this point, maybe 6 months. She has known him for, let's say, 15 to 20 years. If they're, let's say they're 30, 20 years. And you've known him for a year. It was just weird to me that everybody was so surprised that she knew the answers to those questions. Like, duh. It felt very duh. It would be weird if she did it. That was just not a smart game to play if you're going to invite his best friend. Like, if my best friend comes to a party, she's going to be able to answer. If my male best friend comes to a party, he's going to be able to answer a lot of, he may not be paying attention. He's going to be able to answer a lot of questions. He might not be able to win because I got a lot of women friends, but he's going to be able to answer a lot of questions. It's very strange that they were surprised that like, oh, you know him so well. That was a weird reaction. It was a weird reaction to me, but whatever. Syd ends up going to meet Dre right after the bridal shower to get a hot dog because she's hungry because all they had was the cucumber triangle sandwich, so she was hungry. So they go get a hot dog. Dre brings up this artist that he wants to sign, and so he asks Syd to go to this set where the artist is going to be performing. They get there, and the guy is Mos Def, who is also my other favorite character. Mos Def is not interested at all because he just doesn't feel like Tay Diggs is gully. I might have made that up, but it just feels like he's lost his edge. Like he's not street enough. He's very corporate and all of that, so he doesn't feel like Dre or Millennium Records is the best place for him. And then we get to meet the rapping duo, the Hip Hop Dalmatians, which is the highlight of the movie. It's a romantic comedy. They do a good job of having some subtle comedy, but Ren and Ten bring it, and they are hilarious. It's a white man and black man who are a rapping duo, and they are the rapping Dalmatians because one is white and one is black, and you know Dalmatians are white with black spots, and they be talking about these coats with the white and black and white, that. So they come in the middle of him talking to the MC that he wants to sign. They come and they're like, hey, we're your new act, because he's kind of like telling them, leave me alone, and he's like, oh, we just signed, we work for you now. And so of course the MC is like, this is what I'm talking about, what are y'all doing over there? And so he calls the record executive, the main guy, and asks, what is this about? So yeah, the record executive is like, yes, we are about to make some good money, this is gonna be great. And they make a joke about what are they gonna recreate, The Girl Is Mine by Michael Jackson and the other dude, Paul McCartney, is that what it is? Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson, I think. So they gonna recreate The Girl Is Mine by Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson. And he's like, well, that's a good idea. We could call it The Hoe Is Mine. I'm talking like my old black man voice. I don't know if I'm doing a good job. But anyways, so Taylor's like, whatever, hang up the phone. So Dre is frustrated because obviously they are serious about this being a rap act at Millennium Records. Fast forward to the night of the bachelor party, and Dre goes to Syd's house, and she's confused. She's like, is it your bachelor party? Why are you here? What's happening? And this must have been recent, not too long after the bridal shower, because he's just thinking about how he feel like he's sold out. He's asking Syd, have I sold out since I'm at this record label, since I'm an executive now? The money is good. I'm about to get married. I really want to quit because they're making decisions like signing rent and 10. I really want to quit, but I'm kind of stuck because I'm about to get married. I'm about to start a new life. I can't quit this good paying job to go out on my own right now. I feel like I'm between a rock and a hard place. This is like that golden handcuffs thing where they pay you well or you got good benefits, just enough to keep you, but not enough for you to be fulfilled, especially when you built up this lifestyle around it. And now, can I really afford my lifestyle? All of this stuff. And in the circumstances that he's in his life, really makes it difficult for him to like take a leap of faith, even though he feels like this isn't the right spot for him. A lot of people find themselves in a space where they feel like this isn't right and I need to do something different for myself, but it's very clear that I don't really get a chance to do that. This just isn't the right time. I hear that, oh, this is not the right time, which is fair, very fair. I believe in being a calculated risk taker. I believe in setting yourself up for success, but preparing for failure. So I wouldn't say just quit your job and go do the thing unless you have some level of safety net. You don't have to do it that way. I believe in calculated risk. I do feel like a lot of people struggle when it comes to choosing money and lifestyle or whatever they have going on with fulfillment, especially because we were often taught, go to school, get a job, make money, get the benefits, da da da. Once you've been in that cycle, it can be difficult to say, okay, I'm going to leave this and now I'm going to go do something else. But that's where he's at right now. So he's kind of struggling. Syd is trying to comfort him, so she's giving him a hug, and she's just like, oh, it'll be fine. Like, she's just trying to comfort him. She ends up like kind of kissing his forehead, and from the kiss on the forehead, she kisses on the cheek, and then she goes in and kisses him, and kind of stops and end up kissing a lot. Nothing else happens. They end up catching themselves when her wrap dress scarf falls. It kind of catches them off guard, and they like, oh wait, what are we doing? We can't do this. This man about to get married, and she can't be with him because he about to get married, he engaged. So they come to this conclusion, and it's a very interesting choice they made in that movie, because there is something about being about to make a big commitment that will have some people making questionable choices. People that have never given any signs of making those type of choices can make questionable choices. They call exes, they mess with strippers, they, get drunk if they not even drink, and so it's always interesting. It's just very interesting that the movie played that the day before. Like, he's going for comfort, right? But of course, you're about to get married. It's the day before his wedding. He's about to get married. You would think that if you are struggling, of course, it's his best friend. Completely understand that. The movie is about the dynamic between a partner and your best friend, especially when they are the same gender. What role does each person play, and how does that work? Most people would think ideally you would go to your partner for that, right? You would go to your partner and say, I'm struggling because of XYZ. But as we learn later in the movie, Dre knows that Reese, his fiance, is not about the shits. And what I say by that is that she is very much about like, we are going to do what we need to do to get ahead. You're going to keep this job, but you get paid. Like, we don't have time to be taking a risk. I married you because you are ambitious and you've made this life at this stable job. It seems that is her mindset. So I think sometimes you know who you can and can't talk to. You can't always talk to the person that people think you should, or even that person thinks you should, especially when you're looking for a certain level of feedback or comfort. So I think that's what was going on there. And does that mean you don't marry the person? That depends on your values and what's important to you. I do think kissing your best friend the night before should give you some pause. I think you should think about whether or not you should marry the person. It's not discussed. Nobody's telling Reese. So as Dre is about to leave to go to his actual bachelor party, Syd is like, are you sure you want to do this? Because even though she initiated the kiss, he was clearly into her. She's like, are you sure that this is something that you want to do? And he's like, yeah, of course. Like, I can't back out now. I'm about to get married. So, yes, this is something that I want to. He basically says, yeah, I forgets her name, but he's like, I love her. We're going to do this. And he goes off and marries her. One of the questions that came up with that scene for me, and this is probably just because I'm weird or I'm a very logical person and I feel like gender equality for all. But I was like, why wouldn't she be at the bachelor party? Like, I get it. It's a bachelor party, and I get it. It was 2002. And I also get it. Some people have those boundaries. I don't care how close you are with your friend. It's a bachelor party. Only guys should be there. I get that. I I don't think that's fair, but it's because I have male friends. I have one male friend that got married that I'm close to, and I was at his bachelor party. Because I have such a mixed group of friends, the idea of not being able to celebrate my friend and his last night before he gets married and commits to that life and his marriage, I don't know, I feel like I would want to celebrate my friend, especially if I'm close to them. If I'm not that close and we're just acquaintances, cool. But if I'm close to them, I would want to go. I have a friend that's about to get married, and we've had a conversation that sounds like he's trying to not let me go, and we're gonna have a problem. I think it's interesting that she wasn't at the bachelor party, but I do understand different time. This is his best friend. This isn't like with my male friends, I'm one of their female or their female best friend. They have male best friends. This is his best friend. He is her best. It's them two, right? When we talk about best friends, it's just them two, and then they have other people. So the fact that she wasn't at the bachelor party, the fact that she wasn't in the wedding, that feels very weird to me. People don't respect platonic opposite sex friends the same way. It's probably like, nah, she can't be in our wedding. Especially after she knows you way too well. She tends to have some level of closeness that I don't have, and that doesn't feel fair. But yes, it feels very weird that she was not involved in his side of the wedding stuff at all. And I understand her going to the bridal shower. I completely get that, because as the friend, it's like, hey, I want you to come because I know you're important to him, so I want you to come. I understand that. But if my friend that got married, I went to his stuff, I didn't go to his wife's stuff. I would go to anything that was co-ed, but she wasn't just inviting me to her stuff, because that's her friends and we weren't friends. So while Francine and Syd are sitting in the pews at the wedding, before Reese walks down the aisle, Francine notices that Dre and Syd kind of share a moment. He stares at her, they linger, and then he looks away. And so she's like, what was that about? What was that about? And Syd is like, nothing. And it's a funny scene because they're whispering, but they're loud whispering so everybody can hear it. And it's very like, did something happen? And she's like, no, stop. And so she ends up telling her, yeah, we kissed, but it was nothing. And Francine is like, that woman about to marry your man. Go get your man. And they're saying all of this while they're literally getting married. The preacher has to end up talking louder and tell them to shush. When they say, does anyone have anything to say? Francine tries to raise her hand, and it's a whole thing. So it's a funny scene, but yes, it's clear at this point. Okay, wait, now what's happening? So y'all kissed, and we just gonna let this keep going? Like, y'all don't want to address that? Nope, we're gonna slide that under the rug, because that's what people do. They slide the things under the rug. They don't want to address it and hope it goes away. It doesn't, but they hope. So that's literally what happened in that scene. So after the wedding, we did a montage of life passing by. Syd is working on her book and still working at XXL. Reese and Dre are getting into married life. They have this one scene where they both are supposed to go to work, get their phones out, change their meetings, presumably have sex, and go to work a little late. And Syd is doing kickboxing. It's just a montage showing that life has continued to progress. They've been married for a little while at this point. So at this point, Syd meets a basketball player turned rapper, Kelby Dawson, who is played by Nicole R. Parker's husband, Boris Kojo, who, when I say celebrity crushes, when I was in my late teens, early 20s, Boris Kojo. That was probably, I'm trying to think who else would have been a crush at that time, but for sure, Boris Kojo was I had the biggest crush on that man. And then I found out he was German and spoke German, like random black man that's a German. Anyways, Boris Kojo plays Kelby Dawson, and he's a basketball player, wannabe rapper, or trying to be a rapper. Syd is doing her magazine is supposed to be doing an interview about his album that's coming out. He specifically asked for Syd. He does not want anybody else. He just wants Syd. So she goes to do this interview. They go to this restaurant. Francine makes sure she gets cute because she's like, just dangle a little bit. And she's like, this is a work thing. And he was like, don't matter. You need to dangle so you can get some attention. So you need somebody. When they were at the house, Francine found Syd's vibrator. So that becomes a thing. Like, so you can put that bob away. You can put bob away and you can get your real man. She gets all cute, goes to meet this man for an interview, but she's looking good. Her boobs are out. Got a red dress on, whatever. While they're talking and getting to know each other, Dre walks in with Francine and sees her and go up and speak or whatever. They hadn't talked since the wedding, it seems. She was acting like, oh, how was the honeymoon? How was everything? Red and 10 make another entrance because apparently they're going to dinner to celebrate them. Reese is like, yeah, music is good or something, which is very cool. Nobody else believes that, but she is all in for wife of the year, support my man and his artist so we can get this money. So they go off. Of course, Dre is embarrassed because Ren and 10 come into this nice restaurant loud and just being loud. Kelby assumes that Dre is Syd's ex. And she's like, no, that's like my homie. That's my boy. Like, that's my friend. And he's like, oh, okay. It seemed a little awkward. So whatever. And so they just continue their date. It's a good date. I believe at this meeting, Kelby implies that he wants to take Syd out on an actual date. I do think that it's implied there because later on he ends up sending her dozens of roses to her house. It's clear that Dre is becoming increasingly frustrated with the label's desire to have commercial success over like real hip hop, authentic hip hop, because you just could tell that he's just like, what are we doing? What is this? So Ren and Tanner are in the studio and he's like, what's happening? And they were like, oh, we thought we were adding a little extra, a little whatever. And the executive is like, it's cool, y'all did great. And he's like, no, y'all did it. This sucks. Don't do that. Like, he really is mad about it. And so the executive, the boss, is like, it's fine. Y'all about to make us a lot of money. Y'all about to make a lot of money. Dre is frustrated. So Dre ends up quitting. He's just like, I can't do this anymore. So he quits his job. He ends up going to Syd's house to tell her about it, and that's where you see that Kelby has sent her dozens, and when I say dozens, it's probably at least 30 dozen bouquets of red roses. Great. I mean, when you got money, you can do that, but it's very over the top, of course. And so she's just like enamored, and Syd is more of a tomboy, so being treated like a girly girl, I think she enjoyed it. So while he sees these flowers coming in, he makes the comment that if he wanted to date her, he would write her a note that says, will you date me, yes, no, or maybe, and have her sign it. She's basically like, that's why I wouldn't date you, because look at what this man doing for me and what you saying you would do. They end up going to a park and sitting on a bench talking about all this music they used to love when they were younger, remembering songs that helped them fall in love with hip-hop and how important that was. Dre ends up telling her, like, because she's like, I know we're not here just to talk about hip-hop, like, what's up? And he basically tells her he quit the job and wants to start his own label. She's like, do you have enough money for that? And he was like, no, but I'm going to look for some funding and I'm going to see what I can find. And while he's talking about how he's going to make sure he gets the money, she pulls out her checkbook and writes this man a check. And so, again, she supports him. That's her friend. She got his back. I know you're going to be good at this. Here's a check. Go do what you need to do. When you got it like that, you love, you support your friends. So this is another one of those things of, did she cross a boundary? Because, obviously, the struggle is always when your friend is in a relationship, understanding what is a boundary for that relationship. As friends, your boundaries may be different, but in their relationship, they may have different boundaries. Now, it's not up to Syd to determine what the boundaries are of that relationship. It is up to Dre and Reese to decide the boundaries, and it's up to Dre to communicate with Syd what those boundaries are, which he clearly is not doing, or not even really having the conversations to begin with. So Syd, yes, writing a check is a big to do, but also she's investing in her friend. And guess what? I wrote this check. I'm now an investor. So as you make money, I will make money. Especially because Reese does not know that he quit his job, and Reese does not know that he's planning to start a record label. And so I can understand that that looks bad, that she immediately is like, here's the money. Here you go. But again, I think sometimes people are thinking of this in a way of people that we've just became friends in this last year versus we've been friends for 15 to 20 years. Like, that's a long time. And people, depending on the deepness of your relationship, would you not give your close friend, your best friend, an investment to help them out? I don't have the finances to give somebody enough money to start a record label, but I know how much time and energy I spend as a business owner. When my friends come to me and say, hey, I want to start a business, I'm like, let's set up a work day. Let's sit down and really plan it out. I've started a few businesses, so I have a lot more insight than they might have. So I'm going to spend a day with them doing that because I care about my friends and because I really want to invest in the way that I can in their success. To me, when you have that type of money, it's not that abnormal to be like, oh, let me write you a check or help you out in whatever way I can. It's the question of the platonic friendship. Are there different rules for platonic friendships? And I guess that's the question. Should platonic friendships go by different rules, no matter if this is the closest person to you and you have known them your whole life? Should it be expected that the rules are different? So after gives the check, Dre's like, all right, let's go, which is funny to me. Let's go celebrate. Let's go have some drinks. Let's go. Like, you about to spend this money I just gave you for your record label? But she's like, nope, actually, I have a date with Kelby, so no, I will not be going with you to hang out. And he was like, nah, you're not going on that date. Like, let's go hang out. And she was like, nope, I'm going on this date. Let me go. Like, sir, you got your wife. Let me go find my man is what I felt, but whatever. She ends up going on this really great first date. She walks into this restaurant. The restaurant is closed. She's so confused. And Kelby is in the kitchen, delivers food to her. The assumption is that he cooked for her. He shut down the restaurant so they can have a private dinner. At the same time, Dre is going home and telling Reese that he quit his job and wants to start a record label. Reese is immediately upset, which is justified. She's upset because this has not been a conversation. I don't think he's ever told her that he was dissatisfied with the record label. Maybe he had, but we saw him tell Syd, right, previously that he was dissatisfied, but it seems like she's blindsided. She didn't know that this was a thing that he was thinking about, and she feels like, why isn't this something that we've talked about? Why would you leave? Why would you do that? Why wouldn't you have a plan, or whatever the case may be? So she's frustrated, which is justifiable. Somebody making decisions without you when it impacts you is really unfortunate in a relationship. The expectation is that we're going to talk through these things. Even if I don't agree with you doing it, at least we have had a conversation about it, and I'm not being completely blindsided by it. He does admit that he purposely did not tell her about it because he felt like she would have talked him out of it. And she's like, yes, I would have talked you out of it, like, definitely. But eventually she comes around and she supports him. She's like, let me figure out if I can find some money for us. Let me talk to some investors. By the way, Reese is an attorney. I think she might be an entertainment attorney, but I'm not sure. But she's an attorney of some sort, so she has money as well. So she's like, all right, let me figure out if I can find some money to help you out. And he's like, oh, don't worry about it. Syd already wrote me a check. And now she's mad again. Valid. I get it. I feel like these are two different timelines happening at the same time. Syd writing her best friend a check to support him. Nothing wrong with that. Wife being upset that you went to your best friend first and got money from her before talking to me. Nothing wrong with that either. Both can be true. The problem is Dre. She's upset because she's like, so you already talked to Syd about it. Syd has already wrote you a check. Y'all got this whole planned out. All right, so you don't even need me. Let me go, because you clearly don't need your wife. You have your best friend who is playing this role that clearly Reese wants to play in his life. So later, Dre ends up calling Syd to check on her. He's supposed to be calling around trying to find an MC. I think his name is Chris. Most of, but his name is Chris, and so he's calling around trying to find him, and he ends up calling Syd because he realized what time it is to see how her date went. She was like, oh, it was good, it was really good. And he was like, oh, well, what kind of good? And she was like, well, he's here making coffee for me. Part of the joke is that he's saying, she's like, oh, he cooked for me. And he's like, did you see him cook? That nigga ain't cook for you. If you ain't see it, he's like, Syd, that man think you gonna have sex with him. And she basically like, yeah, I think so too. I think it's gonna happen too. She ended up hanging up on him, and he's on the phone to Syd, Syd, Syd. And then of course Reese comes out the bathroom to see what he's doing and hears him whisper yelling Syd's name and just walks back. There is clearly tension in their relationship, and it seems that Syd is the basis of the tension. When Dre quit the record label, he gets into a cab, and the rapper is the one that is driving the cab, and so they kind of have this back and forth. And Chris, I keep wanting to call him Mos Def, but Chris is messing with him and frustrated. So he's the one that takes him to Syd's house. And so they had that interaction. So he knew that he worked for a taxi cab company. So he ends up finding him at the taxi cab depot. I thought it was called the station, but my boyfriend said the depot. So taxi cab depot. He finds him there, and they go back and forth. He's like, I'm about to start my own label. I really want you to come on. And he's like, nah, I still don't think you're a good fit. They go back and forth, and eventually Chris says he'll think about it. Probably he'll do it if Dre cleans the cab. And so he ends up cleaning the cab, and now he has his first artist. Syd and Reese are working at the same gym where Syd was doing her boxing class. Syd sees Reese talking to this man, kind of like, seems to be a little flirty. Now, again, Reese is an attorney, so it could look like she's networking, but it feels a little flirty. She gives him his card, and it seems like they're going to talk or whatever. And so then she comes down, sees Syd, and she's like, oh, hey, I haven't seen you in the gym before. This is what Syd is saying to Reese. And Reese's like, yeah, well, ever since, Dre started this label, I got a lot of free time on my hands, so I guess I have you to thank for that, since you gave him the money to start this label. Yeah, that's my friend. I'm going to support him. So they have to pair up to do boxing drills, and everybody's paired up but them two. So of course they're paired up together, and that's when we see the hostility that Reese has for Syd. Reese does not like Syd, and she says he lets you in a way that he has not let me in, and I'm his wife. You would hope that the person that you marry is able to open up fully to you and show you all the different sides of them. But you knew you didn't have that when you married that man. Clearly, I'm on Syd's side. But I do think Syd was wrong. Let me be clear. I think Syd does a lot of things wrong. But Reese is very frustrated and doing this passive-aggressive punching, hitting the bag hard. At one point, it's funny because I feel like Reese was going, and at one point, Syd is like, I don't know why that's so funny to me. But she hits the bag. It felt weird. It's clear that Syd feels like Reese does not support him. She's like, you called this little project or little label or something, and this is the most important thing to this man right now, and you talking about it like it's just a side project, like this is important to him. And Reese doesn't see it because she's just like, I need you to get out of my marriage. I feel like you're in my marriage. I feel like you are overstepping boundaries. I feel like you are playing a role that I should be playing in his life, and she's not okay with it. So that is the conversation. They don't like each other. It is what it is. So Dre and Chris are working on the album. Kelby and Syd are getting closer, and Reese and Dre seem to be having more distance, right? Because they show another one of those scenes where they're getting ready for work and passing by each other. They're not really engaging. They're not even really talking to each other. I think they might give each other a kiss goodbye, but like they're not. It's very clear that they aren't like the same way they were when they first got married, which is a normal thing. We get into routines, it happens. So it's New Year's and they are having a New Year's Eve party. It looks like it is at Sydney's house. Dre makes a speech about like how great of a year and difficult of a year it was. You know, he married this beautiful woman that's next to him, his wife. He quit Millennial Records and started his own label. And he appreciates the support from the people in his life and the people that care about him. And specifically, he shouts out Syd at the end of the speech, saying, "You've been my rock, my best friend. You are a dope verse over a tight beat." Right? Their love for hip hop is their connection. So he uses that as a way to show her appreciation to him. They all drink to it. It's very clear that Reese is not a fan. Even though he started with her, he ended with Reese. I do understand to single out this person, even though this is your best friend. I understand the frustration. He did what he could to be like, I married this beautiful woman next to me. I'm so happy about that. But also this person has supported me my whole life and I really appreciate you as well. And so it's hard because, again, this is like a public announcement of his care for his best friend. Reese made a face, and I think Kelby made a face as well. Kelby takes this opportunity to go into, all right, well, while everybody's making speeches, let me go in and make a speech. Mos Def is frustrated because he's hungry. He and friends by each other, and it's clear that Mos Def has a little bit of a crush on Francine. And so, but Kelby's like, let me make an announcement as well. And so he kind of starts talking about meeting Syd and other stuff. He proposes. She says yes, and Dre does the same thing Syd did when he found out. She makes a face like, what is happening? What is this? Which is just so wild to me. After the proposal, when Sydney finally says yes, it has her reading another excerpt from her upcoming book. And what she says is, I have to read it because I'm not going to be able to say it. Difference between rap and hip hop is the difference between loving someone and being in love with someone. Rap is just a word. And the assumption is that rap is Kelby and hip-hop is Dre. Throughout the movie, she makes references like this. At some point, she's talking about letting go of your love for hip-hop and accepting what it's meant to be, what rap is supposed to be, or what it's turning into. It's very clear that Kelby is rap and Dre is hip-hop, and Dre is her original love. She's fallen in love with him, but sometimes you have to just kind of like, you love rap, so you just accept rap, and that's what you're gonna get. Sometimes it's no point of hanging on to something that you know you're never going to get. It's no point of saying, I'm going to hold on to my feelings for this person when they are clearly married and moved on. Whatever they got going on in the marriage is their business, and I'm not going to sit around and wait on you to figure out if you want to be with me. So you take the next best thing. And yes, is that settling? Sure. Sometimes if you just go work on yourself, it won't feel like settling, but you love this person, you care about this person, you take that and you are content with it, even if it isn't this deep, passionate love, or you don't feel like you're fully in love with them the way you are with the other person. So the rest of the party is like clips of these different conversations that are happening. Dre is literally following Sydney around the party to confront her about getting married, and is she sure? Maybe she shouldn't. She's like, what are you talking about? Leave me alone. Because she said, he said, you haven't even known him that long. And she was like, just about as long as you knew Reese. He was like, is that what this is about? You're doing this because of me? And she was like, no. Contrary to you and your wife's beliefs, everything I do is not about you. Which I think is a very arrogant thing to say when you are clearly married, got married, after making out with this girl, and now you're questioning her. And when she says, oh, I dated God the same amount of time you dated your wife, you make it about yourself. So she talks about how she got this man giving it to her very well on a regular basis, and she is not worried about Dre. Like, that is her thing. They go back and forth. You can tell there's tension there, and they're frustrated. Francine and Chris are having a back and forth where he's flirting with her. He clearly likes her. I think she's a caterer, so she made the food. And then Kelby tries to connect with Chris because he's like, I'm a rapper and I feel like rappers don't take me seriously. And Chris is like, yeah, basketball player who raps. That's okay. That's like, he's very sarcastic. And then Kelby and Reese end up talking, and basically is like, how do you do this friendship? How is it being with someone who their best friend is a woman or whatever? In the midst of Dre and Syd going back and forth, Syd says, you need to worry about your own marriage, referring to the guy at the gym. Dre is asking her about that, and she tells him it just seems like Reese is a little flirty. She said the men at the gym try to shoot their shot, and it doesn't seem like she is blocking him. Like, she kind of feel like she giving in. And he's like, oh, well, yeah, Reese is a flirt. We're good. That's fine. After she does that, Dre brings up the whole jealous thing. Kelby asked Reese directly, how do you feel about Syd and Dre being best friends? She said, you get used to it. It is what it is. At the end of that scene, Syd and Dre end up making up and they hug each other. And Kelby and Reese are together watching them. There's this feeling, and the people they are in relationships with feel like there is something there. They just have to kind of suck it up. Then we get into the part of the movie where there's all these revelations and confessions and things like that. Syd goes to Kelby's basketball practice and is talking about how stressed she is. She asked him to help with some of the wedding planning. He just basically like, do what you want to do. And so she's talking about, okay, she's a little annoyed, but she's like, she's just stressed because of all this, having to write this book and all of this stuff. And he's like, you're a great writer. You're doing a good job. You're going to be great. And really tries to support her. So then she talks about this one piece and she's like, what did you think about that piece? And he was like, no, it was great. It was wonderful. She's like, oh, okay. So she feels better. She's like, what's your favorite part? And he was like, all of it. Basically, it comes out that he has never read any of her writing outside of the article that she wrote about him. He's saying he's busy on the road. Like, you don't be on planes and buses and you can't take 15 minutes to read an article. Throughout the movie, there's this thing where Dre and Reese tend to switch phones or not have each other's phones. When Dre quit the record label, he was trying to call Syd, but he couldn't because it wasn't his phone. When he got home, he was like, oh, I think I grabbed your phone by accident. She was like, all your exes were calling or something like that. So they always end up having each other's phones. While they're in the studio and Chris is wrapping up, Dre gets a text that says, it's a confirmation of lunch. Syd is at the studio with Dre. He's like, Chris, you got your cab, we gotta go. Chris takes Syd and Dre to the restaurant where Reese is on a date. It just is what it is, a date. And walks up and was like, hey, Reese, like kind of like, what's up, homie? Like, I ain't seen you in so long. Is how he presented it. And she's like, hey, and it's awkward. Syd is sitting there like, oh my God, what is happening? This is my favorite scene of the movie. The guy is like, oh, how do y'all know each other? And he was like, oh, it's a funny story. That's my wife. But of course, how would you not know that when she don't have that $10,000, $15,000 ring that I bought her on her hand? And he's like, I didn't know. He was like, it's fine. Then he tries to order food. And he's like, I want some pork chops. I want to toast to my divorce. It's my favorite part. Anyways, Tay Diggs was funny in that scene.
I'm trying to order the most expensive bottle of champagne because we finna celebrate.
Dre.
We gonna celebrate what? My divorce. How about that?
Catches her out with another man. He is saying they're gonna get a divorce. Syd drags him out the restaurant. She's talking about how much he wanted him the pork chops. So they're back in her house unpacking or putting up things. She's talking about how well he's taking it. He was like, yeah, I know it's probably gonna hit me more later, but yeah, I'm taking it pretty well. While they're talking about how well he's taking it, he just starts talking about Syd's writing, how much he enjoys her writing, and how he would go and get this magazine that she used to work for. Every time he knew she had an article coming out, he would go get the magazine. He would read it. He can't wait for her book because he knows she writes so well. Clearly, he's read every single thing that she's ever written. And she just found out her fiance has never read anything that she's written, and her best friend has read everything. Now again, the theme is best friends tend to do more than your partners, especially as they're getting to know you. But again, it feels special and she recognizes this. While she is trying to brush it off, he ends up telling this story about knowing Reese wasn't the woman for him. She was like, oh really, when? There's tension. This is after he said he's read all her stuff. He starts to walk over to her, putting up a book or something, and he's like, well, you know, basically the night before my wedding, this funny thing happened that made it clear that she was not the woman for me, and I knew who the woman was. And he asked her, do you know anything about that? And she's like, no. She tries to turn around, and he turns around and kiss, very intense kiss. They end up sleeping together. So this time, nothing stops this. He just found out his wife is getting divorced and immediately sleeps with her. She is newly engaged, and they sleep together. So they both are just trash human beings right now. But they sleep together, and Sydney is immediately freaking out. Dre is just kind of chilling. Sydney's like, oh my God, I can't believe how that happened. And then he's making jokes about how he didn't last that long. And she's just freaking out like, we shouldn't have done that. He's like, well, I told you, I'm sorry. It's been a minute and like, I was excited. Next time it'll be better. But she's, you just got a divorce and I'm engaged. He was like, you're not going to get married, are you? The last time this happened and we kissed, you ran off and got married. Why would you think I'm not going to get married? I mean, I know we slept together, but why would you think? So she's like, yes. And he's like, are you going to tell Kelby? And she's like, I don't know yet. And he's basically thinking she should end that and be with him. You not even divorced yet. And this is another thing. Moving on quickly, right? Just because you have taken this long to decide that this is the person that you want to be with does not mean the other person is ready and able to catch up so quickly. And so sometimes once one person has decided, even if the other person showed signs or whatever, but they weren't ready, at the time they decide they're ready to try something, they just expect that person to be ready immediately. Which is wild to me because you weren't ready previously, so why would I be? It sounds like he was frustrated that she wasn't willing to give up this engagement and get married just because he finally decided, oh yeah, I can marry you. So anyways, that happens. They go separate ways. It seemed like he was really surprised that she wasn't ready to go all in now that he's finally ready, which is wild. So Reese eventually asked Dre to play pool, to meet up. basically she's saying, can we make it work? Like, we never tried. And he's like, no, this is it. So she's like, fine, let's just have one night to enjoy each other and kiss, play pool, and have drinks. At the same time, Sydney is late to meet Kelby. They're supposed to go to some show, and he's mad. She's like, it's just a show, it'll be fine. And he's like, you don't love me, you love Dre. I can't do this. And he breaks up with her. I know you love this dude, you don't love me, so let's not do this. So she gives the ring back. So Syd from there is like, all right, I'm single now. Let me go get my man. Goes to Dre's hotel. He's not there. Walking down the street, sees Dre and Reese leaving the bar, hugging and giving each other a kiss. This, in reality, this is the final kiss, but she doesn't know that. When she sees them, she walks away crying, very upset. She ends up finishing up her book, which is called Used to Love Him, H period, I period, M period, which is a reference to Common's song, I Used to Love Her. It's chronicling her love affair with hip hop, which also parallels her feelings and relationship with Dre. Dre ends up getting Chris's song played on Hot 97. He's waiting around to see when the song is going to play, so they're listening to Hot 97. At the same time, Sydney is in the studio talking about her book. As she's talking about it, Dre realizes, like, oh, you know, she's talking about me. She loves me. He calls up to the radio station and asks her, when did you fall in love with hip hop? And she answers the question, and he's like, wait, you're not answering the question. When did you fall in hip hop? And then she says, I've loved you since whatever. He is in the hallways of the radio, right? Puts it to the window. Will you date me? Yes, no, or maybe. And she said yes, and they kiss, and it's all sweet. The movie ends with Chris's new song playing on the radio. So everything happily ever after. They get together. The song is on the radio. So the record label presumably will do well. Chris was stuttering trying to answer Francine on a date, but Francine ended up just asking him because he was taking too long. So that's the end of that. Let me go over the themes and my final thoughts. Platonic friendships and romantic relationships. I feel like this movie was a bad look for platonic friendships, right? Obviously, Syd had feelings for him. She said she's been in love with him since they were kids. Syd has had feelings for him. She's been tucking him down. Even when he tried to say shoot me date, she was like, no, we're friends. I care about this friendship more, which is a completely valid thing, right? I think there's always this fear of if it doesn't work out, do I lose my friend? And you have to think about that. If the person doesn't have the capacity to be the type of partner that you want, don't think just because they're your best friend, they're going to all of a sudden turn into that type of partner. So it's a very valid thing to consider. I'm close to you, and while I do have feelings for you, I do feel like our friendship is more important than what possibly could be a great relationship or something that could possibly end our friendship. And so I do think that's a question. This movie isn't a great look for platonic friendships at all. Also, shit, it gets bad, period. Don't cheat. And they did that several different ways, right? Dre kissing Syd kissing Dre before he got married. Dre continuing to get married, not telling his partner. Reese flirting with the guy, going on dates with the guy. Syd sleeping with Dre while she's engaged. So it was a lot of cheating in this movie. Cheating is bad. Don't do it. We don't condone it. Even if you feel like you're in love, even if it's the one, break up with the person and then date. Do not cheat on people. And you should be having more honest conversations with your partner where you can either prevent cheating from happening or say, hey, these feelings are here and they're developing and I didn't realize how serious they were. Let me scale back. But that goes into what are your boundaries when it comes to having a platonic friendship and you're in a relationship. I know for me, my boundaries change when I'm in a relationship. There are times that I've had me and my male friends hanging out, laughing, talking all night, staying the night, people on couches, floors, whatever, and that happens. When I got in a relationship, we don't stay the night. We don't stay hanging out late, just one-on-one. There are boundaries, and I trust myself and my friends, and I know that there's nothing happening there. I still want to respect the fact that there's a new person coming in, and I would hate for anything to happen to make it look like we have anything going on, or if there is some underlying feelings that maybe I don't know about that come up, I want to make sure we all steer clear of that. So having boundaries while in a relationship is extremely important. I really want to talk a little bit about the friendship versus relationships thing. I think that's a place people have to figure out how to navigate. There is this expectation that a lot of people believe that their partner should be their best friend. I do agree to that to some extent. But I also understand that best friend doesn't mean like childhood best friend where you're my best friend, I tell you everything, and you are the most important person to me and nobody else is going to compare and all of that. Sure, that's part of it, but if you have a partner living life, making decisions with, that person should have a lot of access to you. That's just the reality of it. And I think that is something that Dre did not do. Dre was kind of like, this is a good person, she's attractive, she's cool, I like her, she's ambitious, but he didn't fully think about what should her role be in my life when I already have this woman that is the best friend, right? And so I think that's important to be aware of. I think it's important to acknowledge that while there is going to be some closeness in the best friend, you should not be surprised that the best friend knows that person so well. It is important that there are boundaries and that we are clear on the lines that aren't crossed and what each role is for your partner and for your friendship. And so some of those things that your friend used to do, they might not be able to do anymore, and that is okay. It is okay to tell your friend, you can't take me to dinner 3 times a week because, you know, you got money and I don't, and we just like to hang out and go to dinner 3 times a week. I got a partner there. I should be going to dinner with my partner sometimes, you know? So there are certain things that we have to be, and even things that we do in friendship. I like to cook or bake and things like that, and so I do that for my friends, men and women, and I still do it, but I'm not gonna go to my male friend house and cook. There might be times where it's just the guys come over and then they eat. There is nothing wrong with that. But when I get in a relationship, I am not doing that anymore. I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, I cooked, come eat this extra food, just me and you. So really understanding what the roles are and what the expectations are and how that has to shift and change sometimes, and specifically in platonic opposite sex friendships, I'll say that. But even in, you know, friendships of people that's the same sex, if you're heterosexual and you have friends that are the same sex, it's still some things that have to change there. So I think that that acceptance is important, to recognize that relationships don't stay the same, especially if you get into a romantic relationship and get married. Your other friendships will shift and change, and that is okay. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think that it's okay to have a opposite sex best friend? Do you think platonic relationships or friendships have to change when you get into a relationship? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you all next time. Please subscribe. If you made it this far, you should probably subscribe, like the video, all those things. I will talk to you next time. That's all. Bye.